And good morning. This is Ask the Expert with Thomas Hyatt from Computer Hardware in Hastings. If you have any questions for our expert, just give us a call right now at 462-2511.
And good morning. It is a few minutes after 8 o'clock Thursday morning here on KHAS Radio. I'm Brad Beam, and in the studio with Thomas from Computer Hardware. Thomas Hyatt brings in some tips, some tricks, some good advice, sometimes some new products, just a wealth of knowledge. Hey, Thomas, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself, Brad?
I'm doing A-okay. And this morning you wanted to come in with a little bit of a cautionary, a little bit of an informational pitch, a spiel, a reminder, because unfortunately we've been seeing it too much. People trying to do nefarious things online. Scams are ever prevalent.
It is. It's unfortunate. It happens all the time. We've been seeing it this week. It's these scams. Scams have been around for a long time, but they're finding various different ways of getting you, getting your information, getting you to pay for something that is very costly, like a service, like a pretend service. So a lot of these companies, these scammers are using big name companies like Apple and Microsoft, two of the biggest names in technology. And they're either emailing you or either calling you, telling you that you've got problems, you need to change your password. A lot of these brands, you've got information like a login type thing for your account information through Apple or Microsoft or any big company that they're trying to pretend to be. But they're banking on you having issues with your computer or your iPhone or any type of electronic device, trying to scare you and tell you that you do need to change your password, or we need to get on your computer. You got a lot of problems. We need to clean it up.
They're acting like they're trying to be helpful, but it's like a pickpocket saying, oh, I just want to get the pocket lint out of your pocket. I'm not going to steal your wallet, but I'm going to be in your pocket. It's kind of like that. They're saying, yeah, we want in.
Yeah, exactly. And they're pretending to be these companies when they're not. They're scammers, and they want to take your information and use it for worse things, And for customers, it can be a real big headache when that happens. Some people don't think about that, and again, they're banking on you having issues, and maybe you do have issues. Maybe your computer is slow. Maybe it's not optimal as what it used to be when you first got it. They're banking on that and just saying, hey, you have these type of problems. And sometimes it's even also clicking on something, just browsing the internet. Maybe you're looking for a certain recipe, or maybe you clicked on a news clip that kind of piqued your interest for whatever reason. Sometimes those different links that you click on are bad. They bring up pop-up messages, and then it will have like a fake type of blue screen, the blue screen error messages that Windows can have. They'll replicate that and make it look like, hey, you do actually have a problem. So we've been seeing that also, where there's a phone number to call Microsoft. So there's a call to action. Instead of them calling you, you call them. And then they kind of go through that whole process of, hey, we can get on and clean it.
Because in real life, with legitimate companies, that's not going to happen. They're not going to call you or email you or send a pop-up. And they're not going to ask you to call them either. It's something where in real life, if you're having a problem, you have to call somebody. Nobody's going to sound the alarm, so to speak, and say, hey, let's take care of this.
Yeah, there's so many customers of these companies. They're not going to just call you and tell you, hey, you have an issue. You'll have to call them. And anytime something pops up like that type of thing with a phone number, one of the big safest things to do is to actually go to their website, the legitimate website, and look for contact information through that.
So, like, if something pops up that says, your Windows is not valid, well, go to Microsoft.com and see if you can find help that way.
Yep, exactly. And another thing to be cautious about, we've seen this happen, is when you try to Google Microsoft's phone number. So in a Google search, you type in Microsoft's support number or something like that. Sometimes there's not real legitimate numbers that come up right away at the top of those search results.
Oh, no.
We've seen that happen too. So you got to be very cautious, and that's the way to do it, is to go to the actual legitimate website of Microsoft and look up that information.
Oh man, it seems like there are 1,001 different ways, or 1,000,001 different ways, in which people who are bad people are trying to take advantage of somebody in a moment of weakness, in a moment of just not knowing, in a moment of thinking they're doing the right thing. That it kind of seems scary.
It is, and it's unfortunate to see when we have customers come in. It's kind of you know they're panicking because it happened to them, and it can happen to anybody. Like you said, it could be a moment of weakness that you don't think about it. So it's really tough to see, and it is quite of a headache to kind of recover from that. But one of the big things that you probably need to do right away is to change your passwords. If they got onto your computer, logged on, very good idea to change your passwords right away to anything that you log into account-wise. It may or may not have been compromised. They may not have that information, but they might also. So always be on the safe side. If something does happen like this, change your passwords right away.
Better to be safe than sorry, and usually a change of a password is a quick process. It may be something where, for a few weeks you have to go, what's that new password? But in the end, it's certainly going to be worth it.
It is. Yep. You're gonna have that level of security. That once you change it, they don't have that password anymore, so they can't get in. So that's a real nice thing to have. Another thing too, on certain websites that you go onto, and some of them require it, is to have a thing called TwoFactor Authentication. So not only do you have your password that you log into, but then you have a secondary security level of getting into your accounts. And that type of security could be like a text message to your phone number. You got a phone number tied to this account. They'll send you a temporary code to enter in to get into your account. So that's double the security, which is really nice.
Because that way, even if somebody did have your password and you didn't change it, if they tried to use their password, there would be a text message that comes to your phone that said, here's your verification code to log into Microsoft, your bank, your email, whatever it may be. And if you get one of those text messages and you didn't request it, if you don't respond, if you don't do anything, that they're still locked out. It's like having two keys to your house. Okay, maybe they have one key, but if they don't have the second key, they can't undo the deadbolt or something.
Yep, exactly. So it's another layer of protection. It's really good to have. And that also just reminds me, too, that make sure all this type of information is relevant with your accounts. Sometimes you don't think about it when you switch over like to a new phone number or something like that. You need to update that information in your accounts to make sure that it's relevant for that type of thing, like your two-factor authentication. Make sure it's going to the right phone number.
Because like if you walked into the bank and they asked, what's your phone number, and you give them a different one, they're probably not going to hand you over your money. Yep. You got to verify this. This is the same thing just in the digital world.
Yep, it is. Yep. So you kind of have to keep up with these things. And if it's really tough for you to keep up with these things, especially with passwords, there's so many different accounts and it's really tough to remember them all. There's also an app that you can use. There's a company called LastPass that's a password manager. So you can physically write your passwords down and your other relevant information, like your security questions or things like that. If you do have them on your accounts, you can write those in a physical notebook, of course. But if you want it digital, kind of in the fingertips, with your smartphone, this company called LastPass will be that password manager where you would have an ultimate password, a master password, and then you can unlock this app to where you have all of your different passwords for all of your logins. All that information is in that app.
So instead of being like a janitor carrying around 100 different keys, you can have one key that unlocks the safe where the other keys are, and that's how you then get into everything else.
Yeah, it's very handy if you've got a lot of logins. I've got a few emails, and I do have quite a few logins, and luckily I can remember those now, I guess. I might need that LastPass app to be able to do that. But that is a very popular app that people are using to keep their passwords. And what's really nice, too, is it'll generate strong passwords for you, which is you want a strong password, so it's a lot harder to get your information hacked with that password. So passwords that are easily guessable, or common, that's, sometimes these hackers try to do that. They'll use those type of tactics to get into your accounts. So having a strong password is very much recommended.
What about some of the apps that seem to be built into people's phones or into their computers now, or web browsers that say, would you like to remember this password? Or a box will pop up when you're signing up for an account that says generate secure passwords. Are those a good thing to be using?
Those are, as long as you have, again, it's kind of like the master password thing. Normally, it'll ask you to unlock those type of things on some of those. I know like on the iPhones, they've got that to where you put in a passcode or a fingerprint. Now, obviously with the password stuff, you kind of have to be a little bit careful. Like with Google Chrome, you can save your passwords and things like that. But, if you have if your password's compromised, that might be something that you may be a little cautious about too. So,
it's a minefield.
It
Thomas.
is. Yep. It is. It's something that it's just you got to keep up with these things. It can be really tough, and hopefully I'm not scaring people, with these things. But I just want to give information out and let people know, hey, maybe this is something you should think about, and maybe be careful and cautious with your information, whether it be somebody calling you or an email requesting information. Normally, those are trying to get your information. I get fake PayPal account, got to reset your password now type of things. Unless you initiate something yourself, it's probably going to be fake.
Okay, well, that's a good rule of advice. If you didn't start it, don't finish it.
Yep, exactly.
What you said, Thomas, that people have been calling just within the last week to Computer Hardware to get advice if they think that they entered their password wrong or something. If somebody calls you and says, oh no, Thomas, I probably gave my information away, do people then have to bring their computer to you? How do you help them?
Yeah, depending on how they went about with it. Sometimes, if you get those pop-up messages like the alert about, the Windows Error type thing, you need to call Microsoft, those type of things. Your computer may need to be looked at. There may be some malware on there too. And if you let them on your computer, that's definitely something we need to take a look at so we can stop that, remove that type of access to your computer so they don't get back in there. So, we do encourage people, if that happens, we'll talk you through it. Some of those situations you may not have to bring it in, but a lot of times you do. We do probably need to clean it up and make sure that access remotely from that fake support group gets stopped.
So if somebody else is like moving the mouse and taking control of your computer, it needs to come to Computer Hardware.
Yep, it needs to come in.
Okay.
And we'll help you take those steps to recover from this. It may involve your bank and things like that. So it can be quite a process, but we're here to help you out. It is something that's scary, and a lot of people do kind of panic, and I understand it's a scary thing. So we'll help you out, and we'll go through that whole process and help you recover so that you're good back up and running with your computer, and that you feel safe then after that too.
All right. Well, hopefully nobody has to call you. Hopefully some of these tips that you've given out today are going to help people think for an extra second before they enter a password or click on something. But good to know that you're there if they need somebody. And if somebody has any questions, it's easy to call you. It's easy to start that and say, okay, did I do something wrong or didn't I? Do I need to? Don't I? And you go from there.
Yeah, certainly give us a call. We can start that conversation. Our phone number is 402-463-3456, and you could visit us at 1001 West 2nd Street. We're a block west off of Burlington here in Hastings, and we do have other locations in Grand Island, Kearney, and Lincoln.
All right. Good to know that there's somebody with the knowledge that can help out. Thomas, thanks so much for coming in. We will talk with you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brad.
You've been listening to Ask the Expert with Thomas Hyatt of Computer Hardware in Hastings. Join us again next Thursday morning at 8 after 8 and get your computer problem solved. And as always, if you have a question for Thomas, you can just email it to us, computerhardware@khasradio.com, or visit Computer Hardware just one block west of Burlington on 2nd Street in Hastings.